Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate, make it right.
I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark some incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the Cousins Coven podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys. It's been like 5 minutes for us, but like forever for you.
Right? We are channeling, I swear today, and we are just flowing with so much conversation. I don't know what it was about this little winter break, but really gave us all this energy and inspiration.
Yeah, we've just had a lot of really good things happening in our lives, and
yeah, so we're filming 3 episodes in one sitting, y'all.
yeah, good times.
Yeah, this is going to be our new record.
Yeah.
So
definitely
today,
haven't done this.
No, today's going to be, like, we're always messing around with the format on you guys, but today's going to be a very go with the flow off of either different news articles that I think you procured, and then we're going to go into thoughts and inspirations that we got from watching the amazing documentary Hellier Part 2.
Yes, we're really excited to talk about it because this was kind of like an eye-opening show, so I guess I'll just dive in. So I came across something this week that I thought was really interesting that I'd never heard before, and I'm sorry if everybody else in the world has heard of it.
I'm sure I haven't.
It's called the Dancing Plague of 1518.
Nope, that's new to me.
Yeah, so the Dancing Plague was a mania that happened in France in this place called Strasbourg. And basically it was first one person just started dancing in the middle of the town square. It was a woman, and this was in July of 1518, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, until there were all these people. One woman even died of a heart attack, someone else died of stroke, and another of exhaustion.
What?
And they considered it to be a plague, and it lasted for
What?
it lasted for a long period of time. So let's see,
This can't be real.
It was a week. After a week, 34 people had joined, and then within a month, there were about 400 people non-stop dancing. Non-stop.
Was this the first rave recorded in history?
I don't know. Maybe they took some medicine. So just think about it. Just one woman led to another woman, led to another person, and then before they knew it, there were 400 people in the town dancing for over a month.
What?
For over a month, just non-stop. And so, physicians, of course, came in and were like, well, it can't be astrological or supernatural because those things don't exist, of course, right?
Right.
They said that it was a natural disease caused by hot blood in your system, running through your system, that made you want to dance. So immediately I started thinking of the 1980s song Hot Blooded.
Oh, yeah.
Check it and see.
Just hum that, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, basically that's what was going on with them. They were just having a good old time, and then after about a month, it stopped.
That is so funny. Like, I wonder if it was literally just people having fun, maybe drinking, maybe on some rye bread.
Yeah,
Who
but
knows?
people were dying from it.
They were literally dying.
They were literally dying.
Did it tell you how the deaths occurred?
Just like I said, there was a heart attack. Somebody had a stroke.
Okay.
Exhaustion because they weren't eating, they weren't drinking.
So
they
it wasn't
were
like
just
boils,
dancing.
sores and boils kind of plague.
Right. I imagine that they said there were people bleeding, and I believe that was out of their feet because you're just dancing nonstop. So they were literally hurting themselves and killing themselves.
This sounds like Grimm's fairy tale. Like, that's
Right.
how they off, like, the queen, I think, in Cinderella or Snow White. Like, instead of dying off a cliff like in Disney, she literally just dances, I think, in the glass slippers or something. Or she dances on coals.
Right.
Something silly like that. Oh, is this real, or do you think this is fake news from the old school days?
They said it's actually real. It really happened. There were news articles on it.
I need
at
a
the
time
period.
machine right now.
Right. So some of the theories were that they thought it was witchcraft, that the initial lady who was the dancing one was a witch.
Dancing with the devil.
But some people thought it was just a psychoactive chemical that maybe somebody ate a mushroom
Right.
and then gave it to somebody else, and then before you know it, the mushroom
That's
was just
kind of what I
making
was
them
thinking.
dance.
Either mushroom or alcohol, because like the things that people used to have back in the day are so different.
Yeah, they said it also could have been like some sort of LSD, but LSD is manufactured, so I believe that it was something that if they manufactured it back then, that could have been something. But that's a
Right.
long ass trip.
Right, because it has to be some sort of upper, because
Yeah.
you ain't crashing for a month.
Right. I was like, wait, if that was a mushroom, say you had a mushroom and for a month you just were dancing, you didn't die, it nourished you somehow. I mean, they weren't eating or drinking. How did most of them live?
I just imagine they would have like a punch bowl on the side, like at any proper dance.
No, they made it sound like they never
Nothing.
stopped.
Yeah, okay.
And so they were just dancing,
This is so funny and bizarre.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I was
Yeah.
like, if you guys haven't heard of this, it might be old news, but it's new to me.
Same. This was not in my textbooks.
I was like, why weren't they teaching that in school?
That's
Much
so
better
weird.
history.
So funny. I have no explanation for that. So that's another one. Add it to the board. Put a pin in it.
Yeah, I was like, I really want to check this out. I'm not sure we could check out the dancing plague too much. Like, I don't know. Like, we wouldn't be able to recreate that unless we found that specific mushroom, and I don't actually want to die.
That sounds like a paranormal
So-
investigation we can't come back from. We'll
Yeah.
just keep dancing till we die.
You're like, I'm having a good time.
Exactly.
Recording live.
Our final live stream with love, peace. Yeah, that's how we're gonna go out when we're
I'm
old
like,
ladies.
I got so skinny.
Yes, my hot dancing bod. So pure, I'll go back to the gods and just die.
Yeah.
I'm down, but let's save it for when we're older.
Yeah. I'm not really ready to go. I've got a lot of life left.
Yes, we got a lot of investigating to do. We got a lot of investigating to do.
So much. Speaking of investigating, let's talk about Hellier.
Yes.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, Hellier is this set of documentaries in the past year.
2 years?
No, it's
Only been 1 year.
It's only been 1 year. Hard to believe. That centers initially season 1. I think we kind of talked about it briefly. Season 1 centers around the
Hopkinsville.
Yeah, the Hopkinsville goblins. Supposedly, if you guys don't know that story, the goblins are these 3-toed creatures that are about 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall. They're really small, look like children with no hair, and supposedly living in caves in the Hopkinsville region, around Hopkinsville, Pikesville, that kind of thing.
Right, and it's such a famous story that whether you're aware of it or not, it's probably seeped into your brain. Like, the movie Gremlins, those gremlins are based off of the descriptions given by the family who had the run-in with these goblins. So, yeah, a lot of high strangeness going on in this town.
Yes, in this region.
Area, this region, yeah.
Right. And so basically they're just going there and they're checking out. They received a tip from somebody. It was an email. That somebody had goblins living in a cave.
Right.
And they had footprints and photos and that kind of thing. And so, of course, the team of people wanted to investigate that. So that's what documentary 1 is really about. Just their investigative process, trying to find these goblins.
Yeah, Greg and Dana Newkirk and their team members, Connor.
Yeah, Carl.
Season 1. Yeah.
And
Definitely
then,
we're intrigued by their paranormal style and their filmmaking style.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched Hellier, we obviously highly recommend it. And I just want to say heads up, we'll probably get into some spoiler territory today, so if you haven't seen Hellier 1 and 2 and you want to be completely fresh, maybe just check back with this episode later.
Right. You can find it on Amazon. I think it's free if you have Prime.
And it's all free on YouTube now.
Yes, it's free on YouTube now as well. So one of those options should get you to the place you want to go to. Hellier 2, that was like a mind-blowing experience for us, I feel like.
Yeah, we've had a fun holiday season just watching this documentary and having so many what the fuck moments and synchronicities. So I want to dive into your notes, because I know we've both been taking notes about what they've encountered and all the paranormal high strangeness events.
Right. So in season 2, they added a guy named Tyler Strand to the season as well. So on top of everybody else that we talked about already, Greg, Dana, Carl, Connor. They came in. Basically, I didn't take notes on episodes 1 through 5. We were together, and I think I was sewing, and
we were just watching.
Yeah, we were just watching. I didn't understand how much it was really going to impact our life after that 5th episode. Mm-hmm. And I listened out of the blue, listened to another podcast, Ryan Sprague, who does Somewhere in the Skies. Is that what it is? He does a podcast, and mind you guys, nobody's bumping us or paying us to do these. We were just talking about it because we love these people.
Right. These are genuine, unbiased, just, loving our fellow paranormal people.
Yeah, exactly. So we want everybody to know about them. Anyways, I was listening to his podcast, and Greg and Carl were on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I told you about it. I listened to that podcast and kind of got some behind the scenes of where they started the Hellier thing and where it took them, and it just kind of made me even more invested in watching season 2. And so season 2, kind of just a synopsis without giving too much away, digs a little bit deeper but brings in Mothman and Injured Cold.
I was not expecting Injured Cold to come up in this investigation at all, and we just learned about him for the first time last year.
Yeah, last year we did an episode on Mothman. Neither of us knew who Injured Cold was.
No.
I didn't know who the Grinning Man was. Supposedly he's the same person. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about him, and so what we learned was still very minimal, and I didn't believe Injured Cold existed at that time when we did that episode.
Yeah, do you want to give people a primer in case they're not familiar with Injured?
So Injured Cold was a man who showed himself on a night prior to Mothman appearing in, what town was that?
Pleasantville, West Virginia.
Yeah. Which happens to be not that far from Hellier, Kentucky. There was also an incident, if you listen back to our older episodes, our older episode where we talked about Mothman, we talked about how the bridge was destroyed there. Mm-hmm. So basically, Injured Cold, he showed himself to Derenberger. What was his first name? Woodrow Derenberger. Yeah. Just a simple man, a salesman, a merchant. And he was driving down the road and he saw a craft, and out pops a man who happens to be Injured Cold. And he writes a book about him, and has many experiences with Injured Cold, who happens to come from a different planet, and he brought several people with him. Somehow he's connected to the Mothman. We really don't know how.
My theory during our Mothman episode was that he's working with the Mothman, or is the Mothman. And the thing to note about this UFO incident is that, like, they were just on the side of the road and people saw this craft, and that family had continual contact with Injured for years and years, like, after.
Right.
So this could really be an alien.
Yes. And since that episode, and through Hellier, we learned that Injured Cold did have 2 people who were with him, and I thought I wrote their names down.
Was it Connor and Connor?
No, that's his sons.
Oh, okay. It was the Mothman.
One of them was the Mothman. I had their names written down and I threw it out. I'm pretty sure of it, because it was when I was writing information down using a Cypher. Don't ask me. I go down these weird rabbit holes and then I write my notes down and then I'm like, where did I just go? People will think I'm crazy.
These are just like spur of the moment notes all over the place. This is so fun. Just like this Hellier documentary will just mention something so complex as Injured Cold. And if you wanted to go on your own and dig deeper, the hole is massive that you can go down this rabbit hole.
It is strange. Like, it was like, okay, Injured Cold was with these 2 people. Supposedly, like, they died, supposedly in some sort of crash. We don't know the validity of that, but that's what they were trying to find the answer to in Hellier too.
Right. And so I just thought it was great that in Hellier, the documentary, they are such good researchers that they're going to go to Derenberger's daughter for more information.
Yeah, they weren't afraid to get out there. Yeah. And that's what I would like to learn from them is, like, I let fear kind of hold me back sometimes, and so it's like, okay, we really could be doing more. We could be looking at more things in our own state.
Yeah, we could be investigating and getting first-hand accounts.
Right.
And, like, the thing is, no one really thought to go to his daughter for more information on Injured Cold, but she says that she not only has lots of information, she still has contact with Injured's sons.
Which are Connor and Connor Cold.
Right.
And I surmise that I believe that they're twins. Even though they don't say that in the documentary, I am certain, almost because of numerology. Doing numerology on their numbers, I believed that they were twins.
And it's just really, really cool to think that that story isn't dead. It's not gone because John Keel isn't here to write more investigations on it. Like, there's new people coming up in the field of paranormal research, and they're continuing to gather those old threads and add to it. So that's, I feel like, one of the main lessons Hellier has brought to us, that, like, paranormal investigation doesn't just end, like, doing a Google search. You can really do more.
Right.
Be a part of the story and get it out there. So I thought it was really compelling that they went to that level to figure this all out and tie all these strings together, or attempt to.
Yeah. And also the fact that they weren't afraid to really look into it. They followed synchronicities and pieces of yarn to find answers to a story. And that was kind of eye-opening to me, because how many times do you and I see synchronicities in a day? How many times do people listening to our podcast episode, how many times do you guys see synchronicities?
I love the messages we've gotten about synchronicities just in the last year. I feel like that was one of the main messages, is that our synchronicity episode really hit home for people and allowed them to not doubt those synchronicities, but to lean into them and to see more and to learn from them. So if you haven't listened to our synchronicity episode, go for it, because it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, synchronicities. It was kind of refreshing to hear other people discussing them.
Yeah, because it's not just us making something out of nothing.
Right.
They are messages, and that's really what Hellier is always chasing. These paranormal first-hand accounts and the synchronicities and what leads them to here, to there, to here, to there.
Right.
I don't know if I'm doing it justice, but if you've seen Hellier, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So one thing I have on my notes here is that paranormal activity follows borders, bridges, things in transition, and that paranormal activity kicks up during construction and will wind down during completion. And I love that, because I felt like that was a synchronicity, because I had been feeling that and experiencing that with your Yule tree. It was something that you brought in here temporarily. It stirred up a lot of activity, and the whole process made me really feel like that was what was happening there. So when they started talking about that, it really made me relook at bridges as places of magic, looking at caves. Yes.
Yeah,
so
and
many
not
magical
being afraid.
places.
So there's a section in there where they're doing like a spirit box session, and Dana Newkirk, she says bing bing bing.
Yeah, she's channeling the EVP box.
Yes, through the EVP box, and she says, say these words, bing bing bing, but it was in a specific tone, and the entity on the other end was trying to tell them that if they play this specific tone, it will open a gate. And so that resonated with me
100%.
And
we've been talking about vibrations this whole podcast.
Exactly.
I feel like going back to episode 2, I was laughing because we were talking about how Bigfoot can change his vibrations to like travel through portals. And now I'm just like, yeah, dude, vibrations open portals.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we've come so far in our thinking. Now it's like everything, because of personal experience, I feel that's why I'm able to believe in it. So I was in my living room, I paused that episode, and I'm just bing 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 bing. I'm saying it happens to be CAF. It's 3
bing bing bing.
Yeah. And so I'm doing that in my living room, and a shadow person appears in my living room.
Oh shit. Oh my god. In the middle of watching Hellier.
In the middle of watching Hellier. I pause the episode. I do that. I feel a shot of like this. You know when your leg falls asleep?
Yeah.
That went through my body.
Ooh.
Really quickly. And then I looked, and there was a shadow person. And then I kept seeing shadows all around me, just darting back and forth, the shadows, and hearing things crinkle and move on the table.
Wow. What were the vibes, the energies?
It felt trickstery, almost.
So the same, probably, ghost from Yule.
Right. And so they're saying that this specific tone would open up a gate. And it made me think, if that really does open up a gate, does it really need to be in a cave, or can it be anywhere? And so
anywhere.
To me, I feel like it was anywhere.
Anywhere.
And that's why I was trying it in my living room.
And like they call them star sounds that opens
Yes.
a doorway and to find a way through vibration.
Right.
And so like it could be anything, angels, gods,
Fairies.
goddesses, fairies, just all the stuff that we work with as a witch.
Right.
And we've mentioned this before in other podcast episodes, but again, Dana Newkirk, the female investigator in this group, is a hedge witch.
Right.
And so much of that shines through, and I feel like it's really helped both of us grow. And like her stuff is powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
It's really cool to see the paranormal and the witchcraft really combining. I was just blown away. So these vibrations are something I think we've been wanting to work with more. It's kind of synchronicities that it was even in the documentary. Like I've been wanting to get us a gong or something because I just feel like that'll really change the vibrations of a space, in a room.
But it also made me think, so we've also been talking about doing a fairy garden.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of talk about fairies and goblins coming from the same realm, which made me think of the Tuatha De Danann.
Yeah.
We've talked about them a million times. So it made me think that if we were to do a fairy garden and play that specific music,
They would probably like that.
and they would come and appear to us.
And fairies are little tricksters, definitely. I know we're going to do a whole episode on fairy magic for the springtime.
Yes.
So probably during spring is when we'll start this project.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that same kind of spirit box session that they were doing with the tones, he said it was like a telephone. So it made me think, is it really a gateway? I mean, obviously when I did it in my living room, it seemed like it was a gateway. But
You
is
got
it
physical representation, but you've
Yeah.
already been having activity.
Right, and so I didn't know if that was why, because of the time period that we were doing it at. But if we did it just in an everyday setting, would I still get the same results, or would it be more like a telephone where I'm talking back and forth?
Right, which is another type of doorway, I would
Right.
think. A
So-
communication doorway.
Which makes it very interesting because a lot of magic is like that. When you're divining, it's like a telephone communication. When you're scrying, it's a telephone communication. So we do that on a regular basis as a witch
With divination.
with divination.
Yeah, or channeling, evoking, invoking. So much of being a witch is about using these outside forces.
Yeah, yeah.
So
pretty
we're really
awesome.
starting to look at these outside forces as less of like fairy tales and taking them more seriously as archetypes to work with.
Right.
It's like when I began my pagan journey, I started thinking about a god and a goddess, and that was like really new at the time and revolutionary. And I'm at that stage again where looking at goblins, aliens, angels, all these things really being real
Right.
is something that we could benefit from with our magic.
For sure.
Woo, I'm excited.
Yeah,
So
you've come so far.
I know.
Like I've watched you just like level up so quickly.
I'm either going super crazy or just really.
Oh no! I brought you into my crazy room.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else? What did you have?
So I am interested in this man that they bring up a lot in Hellier. The thing about Hellier is that you're going to learn so much esoteric and occult things, and it's really, really cool. There's this man, Alan Greenman. Can you...
Is it Greenman or Greenfield?
Oh, I wrote Greenman, but sometimes I am listening and writing things down, so you're probably right.
Yeah, I think it was Greenfield, and then they talked about the Green Man a lot.
That's
so
what it
maybe,
was. That's
yeah.
probably what it was, is I'm a Green Man person. So Alan Greenfield, can you feel like you can surmise his works?
He is... I don't know if I can because I don't know a whole lot about him, but I'll try. He's basically this man who's been practicing magic for a lot of years under the same kind of followings of Thelema and Aleister Crowley and the Order of the Golden Dawn, which we talk about all the time, and
They
which
always
is a
are
big part
popping
of
up.
my life.
They're always
Yeah.
popping up.
So basically, he's along their lines and knows all about them. He's written a book called Cypher 31, and also
The Cypher of the...
the Cypher of the UFO knots.
Yeah, I think the book is called The Secret Cypher.
The secret cipher of the
UFO knots.
UFO knots. And then also Libra 31, which both of those have heavy information in it, and it ties, stuff that he writes ties into Hellier and who's contacted them via email.
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting.
Their synchronicities really led them back to his teachings.
Right.
And he has this cipher, which is just, how do I even explain a cipher?
It's like a part of numerology and a part of tied into Thelema with Aleister Crowley. So it's basically, he's made this cipher based on Thelema, using this mathematical equation where he's assigned, kind of like numerology but differently, numbers to letters. And then he adds them all together to create one number.
Right. So this technique of using the cipher is something the crew does a lot in Hellier. Because of the synchronicities, it was always pointing to Greenman's work or that cipher, and when they would use that thing to decode, it would either give them coordinates or this or that.
Right.
And all these amazing things. And this cipher was, I think, something you and I both got lost in doing. We just started putting so many things in our life through this cipher.
Right.
And trying to learn all the sacred numbers.
Yeah, I read that Secret Cipher of the Euphonauts. Not 100%, but enough.
Okay, cool. I haven't read the book yet. That's on my read list.
Okay.
So they get a chance to finally interview Greenfield in this season, and that was really cool to hear him talk just candidly about their findings, about how he looked into synchronicities and the sacred numbers that they kept running into with their investigation, and how they should just keep following all these leads until it like pains them to do so, essentially.
Right.
Like they're calling you, keep following these messages.
Right. And so basically he's just affirming to me and maybe to everybody listening to the podcast that these synchronicities are a calling for you. They're not just static noise in the background like some people think that they are. They're pushing you in a direction and helping to guide you like a spirit guide.
Yeah, so many synchronicities. One that I happened to write down is that when they put their own movie title, basically Hellier, into that cipher, they got the number 93. And when they told that to Greenfield, they were like, does that number have any resonance with you? And he's like, oh yeah, 100%. Like, it's a Thelemic belief that the number 93 shows up for magicians, and that's a huge number. And so there's just so many synchronicities.
Right. Tons of synchronicities in it. It was really interesting. And they talked a lot about balloons. Do you remember them talking about balloons? So that was one of the synchronicities that they would find, were these balloons in random places, and they weren't really sure why. And
they'd be given coordinates, basically, and when they showed up there...
Right. Greenfield said it was a sign. And he mentioned the Orion constellation and the Sirius constellation, and the Sirius being the blue star. And then they found a blue star balloon.
The synchronicities with the balloons, I thought it was interesting too, because Alan Greenfield was like really blown away by the times that their coordinates would lead them to balloons, and he was like, you didn't think that was a sign? Come on, like you said. And he was saying how like balloons are associated with birthday parties and a celebration, so that those synchronicities in those balloons were a gift, a present from this paranormal force trying to talk to them and give them a signal of like, yeah, I'm here, I'm with you, you're on the right path. So I just thought that was super, super cool. Right.
So just kind of an affirmation. So another way that you can use synchronicities in your own life.
Yeah, look at the patterns.
Right.
What do you see? Like, what is calling to you?
Right.
There is something that I definitely have to talk about that they mention in this documentary, and they show you footage of, and that was the alien abduction hypnosis experiment.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
They do like a reverse regression session to implant an alien abduction into a subject, just to see, I guess, if it was a possibility, or how easily can the brain be convinced of something.
Right. And they said how many words? 2 or 3 words to this gentleman. So first they put him in the hypnosis state with an actual licensed psychologist or hypnotist. Yeah. Hypnotist. That's what I mean. And so he said maybe 2 or 3 words to him.
I jotted down some of the words he said.
Okay.
Like, as to this, it was so incredible to watch, but all he really said is, there's a light in the sky. You've never seen this before. And you know that they're going to take you somewhere, and something's going to happen.
And then he said, what do you remember, or something like that. And then the guy just spread this whole story.
Filled in all these blanks. And he was a non-believer of aliens before the experiment, and not really a believer of hypnosis.
Right.
So they felt he would be a good subject to go undergo this process.
And he didn't believe any of it.
And he was able to feel fear, and he was like almost afraid of what he was seeing, the lights in the sky, a UFO coming down, and getting abducted, and he was with a bunch of, like, maybe a little party of people, and that when the hypnotist brought him back to reality, he noticed like one of the people from the party was missing, and he was really, really shaken.
Yeah, he thought that it had really happened to him.
Right. So what does this say about hypnosis?
And current alien abductions. It made me think, could they be some of these be implanted in people's minds?
Right. When they go, like, there is a lot of therapists who will do that to abductee people who think they've been abducted. You can go to this hypnotist and have a session.
Right.
So is this just perpetuating this false thing that happened to you, or is it awaking actual memories?
Or because it was put into his head, I also thought, what if the person really is abducted?
And it's unlocking those memories.
Or the person has been abducted, and who abducted them was implanted in their minds. Let's say we follow the conspiracy theory that sometimes people believe that when they're abducted by the government and not aliens. So what if they were, and the government pops into their heads that it's really...
Yeah, because there's this debate that it's not a physical experience.
Right.
To be abducted, it is just a mental experience. So did this hypnosis just tune him into that?
Or did it tune him in, and then by tuning him in, he was abducted in front of our eyes?
Oh, whoa, that was
because
deep.
it happens in your mind.
So
they
then he
say,
opened
just
him
like
up
a
to
DMT experience. So what if he just having the process of hypnosis puts you into a DMT trance, and therefore you are having an abduction scenario?
That's terrifying. My voice cracked.
That's okay.
You know how I get scared of aliens?
Yeah.
Once an episode. Here's my fear time. They're always among us. So this experiment really made me harken back to the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. Like, was that suggestion of those experiences, were they creating that story? But they had a different experience because they had physical evidence.
Right.
So just, it raises a lot of questions.
Right. And that could have been the government. They looked Asian, right? They kept saying that they looked like Asians.
A lot of people say that about Greys and Men in Black. Yeah.
So, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, no, abductions, I'm getting freaked out.
Yeah.
I think Hellier, watching this documentary, does invoke more paranormal activity and synchronicities in your own life. Like, when I was taking notes, a lot of times what I was writing they would say, or what number I was writing, they would literally say that number. That happened to me many a times.
Yeah, I was lighting candles. They said something about clarity, and I was literally lighting my candle for clarity as they were saying. I had a spell written down. They said something about wisdom, and I was also lighting a candle for wisdom. So it was kind of crazy. It really is an eye-opener.
So, are you ready to talk about Pan and stuff? I have some
Yes!
notes. Okay.
Let's do it.
So,
I don't have a whole lot, but...
got real hyped on this documentary because they start getting into talking about Pan, my favorite god, really. And so there's this book called The Rebirth of Pan. I think it was Jim Brandon. Apparently it's really hard to get your hands on. And someone just happened to send it to the Newkirks at this right time while they're doing this investigation. And as he goes through it, things in this book are lining up with the Goblin case, and this entire case is just all kind of coming together.
Right. And it's all because, it's just so weird that it was like all these things, kind of like our podcast, how...
It always is linking up.
It was like, oh, we've got this cryptid. Oh, we've got this alien. Oh, we've got magic. It's all in one.
And usually all of these things, they link together.
Right.
The thread really does link together, so I love this. And so they talked about how Pan is the grand spirit of the earth and how Pan means all. And so there's this print that they basically find in the book. I think it's called the Cox print, or the three-toed bird track symbol.
Right.
And so it looks like to me like a rune where it's just a Y with an extra Y in the middle. And then they had a three pronged footprint in that book next to it. And so they realized that those cryptid photos they had received from season 1 were like those footprints. And so then they just went on this whole Pan journey.
Right.
And I was so thrilled to be watching this and learning about the Native American art, that was just showing like the beginning artworks of Pan and how he was worshipped in caves and how he was greatly revered, and then eventually kind of like died off and wasn't really revered as much in society. But I was super excited because I feel like they're helping other people get more connected to this god that I work with. So I was just feeling like so excited. So excited. And Dana Newkirk does so much magic in this episode. I was like just trying to take notes of all of her herbal blends, all of the ways she was doing things, and I wrote down everything so that if I do Fae magic, I could go back to these notes and realize, okay, these are the herbs that would be good, these are this that would be good, because I just find seeing a witch be out and about, proud, and on this documentary doing her witchcraft and using it with the magic is just so amazing.
It made me feel like accepted in a way. It's really hard for us as witches to feel accepted, valid, and
seen,
not feel crazy because we've been all these ideologies that have put upon us since birth because of religion or whatever.
Right.
We've been put down. And not anymore. We're not that witch on the getting burned at the stake. That's not who we are as people.
Right.
And it made me feel like I don't have to have that negative connotation. That's been put on by somebody else.
And it's frustrating because in conversations there's so much misinformation about what I am and what I do. The word witch, a lot of people don't even understand what that means.
Right.
So I feel like the more it's out there in the world, the more people will become to understand us and maybe see that as a valid form of expression in religion.
We're just human beings seeking knowledge.
Yeah, man. So I was really excited by all the magic that really came out in this documentary.
It was beautiful. It really was. It was just very elegant, very informative, just lovely.
Totally.
Let's go ahead and move on to the Night of Pan.
Okay, so at this point, if you're still listening, I feel like you've seen Hellier too. So let's just talk about episode 10 and how they have a badass ritual in a cave, and these same caves that has been connected to the entire case of Hellier and these goblins and these supposed occult rituals that are going on in these caves. They actually do an invocation or an evocation of Pan.
Yes.
And I just thought that was so badass. I was so excited to see other people working with my deity. And Dana Newkirk made this 16-step ritual. And they even talk about how Dana has known this crew for a little bit longer now, that she felt more comfortable to bring her full witch on. And so it was so happy to see her turn it up.
Yeah, she brought it.
Yeah, so...
like, she really brought the goodness.
Yeah. They brought all their ritual tools, all the altar tools. They actually had their beautiful circle cast. They had their altar.
Homemade wine specific
herb mix.
With a special... I mean, it was a special recipe.
Yeah.
I don't know where she got that. Did she say she got it from the book that they had, the Pan book?
She didn't specifically say it unless I didn't catch it. But I did take a lot of notes because I was trying, anything she shared, I was writing notes on how to do.
I was wondering if she got it from that Pan book, and I don't know how we get our hands on that, but that would be amazing.
I know. Someone upload a PDF or a Kindle version of this book. So the ritual was really touching for me, and it was really cool because it's basically all the type of magic that I feel like I do. She's doing the circle, the calling the elements, and then, you know, got her everything anointed. She even anointed the camera that they were working with just by a dab of oil.
Yeah.
So I really like that idea of that. Once again, paranormal and witchcraft investigation going hand in hand.
Right.
And really trying to get that energy of Pan into the cave because they felt this calling to connect with him or to get answers from him with using their tones and everything all coming together.
Right. And it became such a thing where they were all moved to the point where Greg started crying. Do you remember that part? How touching it was? Like, a grown man crying. Kudos.
Yeah.
On air, not very many men show emotion, and that was refreshing to me.
He was called to do the evocation. And so,
because he is a minister in his life. He went to school to become a minister, and he is ordained.
And he even says he's kind of leaning more towards the pagan path these days, but like it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah.
And this whole case is really because of an email he got. So they just felt like, look, this deity is trying to get a hold of you. You channel him. And he felt something.
He felt something. He felt moved. And that's how we feel every time we do magic.
Right. And like, it doesn't always make for like what you would think is exciting cable television, you know, for ratings. Like, oh, you gotta scream that something's touching you, you gotta freak out, you gotta make, you know, these big moves to make television and paranormal investigation. But the truth is, paranormal and witchcraft is really about feelings and intuitions.
Right.
And so that's what we get with Hellier, man.
Yeah.
It's actual experiences.
It's actual experiences,
Yeah.
which is where we're headed on this podcast. I feel this year that's where we're going. Watching this is opening my eyes that we need to take our feet out on the road a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even do some spells with all of you.
Yeah.
And we want to know how you guys feel about that. Would you be down to do spells from far away with us? Would you be...
We're thinking about doing some sort of live when we can, when we get the equipment for it.
Right.
And the time for it. But we would love to be more interactive and just be sharing more of that magical side with others, because seeing them do it with... Just, they're inspiring. You know what I mean? You don't have to be ashamed. We can do it together and we can all, you know, collaborate.
Exactly. Just work together.
Mm-hmm. I definitely need to find a freaking cave.
Yes, you're definitely going to find a cave. I'm pretty sure I know a couple of nearby. You know what was cool? So these people, I don't know if you noticed this. Did you go to their website? There was planetweird.com. They have a website.
I went to one of the websites about their traveling museum.
Yes, so they have a traveling museum. And I wanted to know, is that travel museum coming to Oregon anytime soon?
I tried to find a schedule, but they didn't have one. I did find a calendar. Oh, you did?
Yeah, I found a calendar on there. They had this place this thing going on that I would love to go to. So anybody in the New Jersey area, I would totally check it out. It's way out of my price range, but maybe somebody else might be able to do it. But they had this 3-day cruise leaving from New Jersey that they were going to be on. It's like $1,000 per person for the trip, but you stay in a stateroom, and Greg and Dana are there with their traveling stuff, and it's this kind of paranormal cruise that you go on for 3 days. So imagine doing something like that.
Right.
How amazing that would be. I'm sure there's going to be witchcraft going down. I'm sure there's going to be anything that you can possibly think of going down.
Seminars. Yeah. Like-minded people.
Exactly.
I see you, cruise ships. You're trying to appeal to me. This all started after I started seeing like cosplay and con cruises, and now it's ghost cruises. They're trying to get cruise for all the demographics.
I've actually been on a 2-hour cruise excursion on the Willamette River. We have this thing called the Willamette Queen on the Willamette River here in Salem. Mm-hmm. And I went on a 2-hour ghost excursion there and had one experience.
There's a ghost excursion?
There was at one time, yeah.
What is the paranormal lore with that?
So that ship has a wheel on it that was from another ship that crashed at sea.
That seems ballsy to reuse.
Right. And there was lore surrounding that the captain of that ship followed the wheel to this ship. Mm-hmm. And supposedly something can be seen. And so we did spirit box, we did pictures, we did dowsing rods. It was a really fun experience. And they gave like history of the stern wheeler and history of Salem. So it was kind of fun.
That is fun.
Yeah. I don't know if it still goes on. I knew the people who put that on are no longer a group who does that, but it was fun.
There's always things going on in, I feel like, everyone's local areas. Mm-hmm. So just keep your eyes out.
Check it out. You got stuff like that in Texas a lot, I feel like.
Always.
Yeah.
That place was such a Wild West territory with hangings and shootings and so much energy. We have a lot of that here too. Yeah. But yeah, we got the ghost of Davy Crockett. Yeah. You know, very, very, very fun. I hope that this episode was enjoyable for everybody.
Yes, me too.
I feel like Hellier is so fun. It opens so many doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Such a fun show. You guys watch it.
Please watch it. Share with us your synchronicities, your thoughts.
Yeah.
We love to hear from you guys.
Yes.
And you can always find us over on our page, our blog, cousinscoven.home.blog, for witchy words of wisdom. And then you're going to see all of our archive podcast episodes from season 1 if you want to go back and listen to those episodes. And in the meantime, just email us at cousinscoven2@gmail.com.
We really want to hear from you.
Yes.
And so may you find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and joy in each other. Blessings to all.